Welcome to the Catbird Quilts. I'm Kathy Martin, and today I'm going to answer the question, can you use pants for quilting? But of course I have a lot to say about it, so stay with me. So I've spent a lot of my time here on YouTube talking about using men's shirts for fabric for quilting. And I sometimes get the question in the comments, do you use pants? Or can you use pants? Or how do you break down pants? Or just a fair shake of questions about pants. And so today's video is about that very thing. And it would be easy to just go, yes. Can you use pants? Yes. And be done with it. But like everything, there's more to it than just yes, because there are different kinds of pants and there are different features to pants that make it harder or easier and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to start with, let's talk about the different kinds of pants. And you're probably thinking, I know what different kinds of pants there are. But if you're considering pants for quilting, you have to consider specifically the different kinds of pants. So the ones I have used so far in my quilts are linen pants and PJ pants, both of which you can find surprisingly easily, at least in the South, in the thrift store. So I find a lot of linen pants. I just kind of stumble on them. And every now and again, I'll find some PJ pants that I feel are rescue worthy. Some PJ pants, really, it's just a no. It's a no for me. But those are the two that I think are probably the easiest to incorporate into quilting. And then you can move on to cotton and twill pants, which are somewhat close to the other fabrics that you might use in quilting, but usually a little heavier, and then further on into denim or jeans, and then corduroy, and then like wool pants. And the last three I have not done yet, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I want to start with breaking down pants, because there are some folks that have asked me, like, what's the best way to break down pants? And I will be honest with you, I have not found the best way yet. Part of that is because of the difference in pants. So let me show you that. Here I have a wonderful pair of linen pants that I found. I often use women's pants, actually. And this is one of those examples. This is actually a 3X, so they're pretty large. And they're this linen. You may notice my curved seam orange peel blocks behind me. Yes, I'm still working on it. And I've used linen pants for that linen. I mean, linen, there are varying weights of linen, but a lot of times you can find similar weights. So I stumbled on this pair of pants in the thrift store, and I was super excited because if you'll notice here across the front, there are no pleats. There's no zipper, no belt loops. It really is just a very flat front with facing, and then the back is elastic. So breaking down this pair of pants would be relatively easy, like exceedingly simple. And so at that point, it really is just turning them inside out, and I use my heavy-duty scissors, or you could use a rotary cutter and just cut the side seams. It's just these basic seams with no accoutrement around the waistband. So that's pretty easy. Let me show you not as easy. This pair of pants, not as easy. So it has triple seamed waistband with belt loops, a button, a zipper, and drawstring. I mean, like, these folks were really afraid these pants were gonna fall down. The people who made these pants are like, these pants are not coming off. You've got every possible way of keeping them on. At this point, for these pants, I would probably cut my losses and just lop this whole section off. Like I would cut everything except for the zipper, and then I'd cut the zipper out. For those of you that want like the best way to break down pants, I'm still working on it. And jeans are even more so. The waistband is only part of the issue. You also end up with like pleats and darts and pockets and so on and so forth. Essentially, when you're thinking of breaking down pants, when you're making that decision about purchasing them in the thrift store, really however complicated the waistband and the pockets are is going to dictate how much time or energy or how much fabric loss you're going to have when you break them down. Because sometimes it's just not worth it. It's just easier to just cut that whole section out. When you're talking about pajama pants and breaking them down, that is really super easy. They're almost always elastic waist. I have unpicked, for my friends in the UK, or seam ripped the fold of the pants over the elastic, and it takes a surprising amount of time, and you have to contend with the stretch of the elastic. What I've discovered is it's just really not worth it unless it's just really loose or just drawstring. I just cut, again, lop it off with my spring-loaded scissors, which I'm a huge fan of, and if you want the link to them, it's in the description. But after that, if there are no pockets, which is generally the case with pajama pants, you cut out the side seam, you cut out the middle seam, and then what sews the legs together. So this is just one leg, one front or back of one leg. So it ends up being 4 quadrants essentially, and it's pretty basic. So if you're looking for ease and in your breaking down, kind of pajama pants are the way to go. Just some thoughts there, and I want to point out when you're breaking down really every kind of pant, and we'll talk about this a little more in the pros and cons, you do have these really big pieces, but because of the angle of the front that attaches to where it goes, the waistband to the crotch, and then the crotch to the ankle, or if they're capris, to the shin or knees, there's a pretty significant angle. So if you're wanting a big straight line, you're going to lose this section over here and that section over there, if that makes sense. As you're thinking about breaking down your pants, you can do as I did and cut right along the seam, or you can just cut that straight to start with a straight piece. And then one final thing I want to say about breaking your pants down: if you are careful, and or if you have a vision down the road for your pants, you can use the back pocket in your project. So this is less about quilting and more if you're also a bag maker, or if you use your fabrics in other ways, other garments, other projects. And I want to show you that. I stumbled on a pair of 2XL charcoal gray wool pants a couple of years ago, and I think they had some moth holes in them. They were just beautiful, like high-end pants, and I think they were $1.99, and I bought them on a whim. I had no plan for them. I ended up making a camera bag for Paul out of them, and as I was breaking them down, normally what I'll do with shirt pockets is if I can't separate the pocket, I'll just cut that section out. If they're too reinforced, or if there's like a lot of embellishment, a lot of, like a pocket fold, like a, what do you call that? It's not a lid. Closure? I can't think of what that's called. But anyway, if your shirt pocket has a lot, I'll just cut that whole section out. Don't do that with your pants if you want to use them another way, and I want to show you how. Briefly, because this has nothing to do with quilting. So this is the camera bag that I made with the charcoal gray wool pants, and it was actually a lot of fun to make. I learned a lot. What I did, I took that back pocket and I made that as the back of the bag. So let me see if I can squash that flat so you can see that. So this was the, I guess that would be back right pocket of that man's pants. What that does is there's a back pocket on the camera bag. And likewise, you can do this with shirts too, just side note, if you're wanting to get into making bags. I used a shirt for the inside, and what I did is I saved the pocket on that shirt, and I used the pocket for the inside. So the lining has a pocket. I'm putting my hand in here so you like you can't see, but it is. There's a pocket right there. That was the man's shirt pocket, and then a pocket on the back, which is the man's bottom pocket. All right, that's enough about that. Has nothing to do with quilting. But I just wanted to point that out, is as you're getting pants from the thrift store, you can save those pieces all together. Before I forget, a lot of you have mentioned Don Kim. He takes pants and shirts and makes bags out of them. He has a great YouTube channel. We can put that description in the description below if you're just interested in that. So anyway, moving on. So I've got my two examples out again because I want to talk about the pros and cons. Pros to using, and not pros like, not poems, but pros like the good things about using pants. There's potentially a lot of fabric there. And you may have, when I laid this same pair of pants out earlier, been like, wow, that's a lot of fabric, because it's a lot of fabric. So if you get an XL or a double XL, or if you get pajama pants, the great thing about pajama pants is a lot of times they're made to have a lot of room in the leg, just more comfortable, I guess, sleeping with a lot of space. Whereas some pants are tapered or tailored. A lot of times they're wide leg. That's a lot of fabric. I mean, you know, if you saw this just a moment ago, thought, golly, and that's one piece out of 4 of these. And if they line the pockets, if there are pockets and they line them in the same fabric, then you get the pocket too, which a lot of times is surprisingly a lot of fabric. This particular pajama pants, when I saw it, it reminded me of a candy striper. I'm probably telling my age. Some of you are like, what is a candy striper? And I'm not sure I can even tell you. I think like in the maybe 60s, 50s or 60s or 70s, it's like a volunteers at a hospital that would come around and I don't even know. I just know that's what it was called. And they had outfits that were striped like candy canes. So when I saw these pajamas, I know I'm like way off the rails, but I loved it. And I'm not trying to go back to October pink, but I just thought, what a fun pattern and what a fun color. And it leads me to my next pro about using pants, particularly pajama pants. They're very similar to quilting weight cottons. These are a little bit on the lightweight side. This particular pair that I have, it's a little bit lightweight, so there are different quilting cottons. Obviously some are lighter than others. I think Liberty is notoriously thin. You can easily integrate these into your other quilting cottons. And in fact, once you get it cut up, you may not even really recognize that it's not quilting weight cotton. Also, about pajama pants, a lot of times they're really fun prints and patterns. This one is obviously just striped, back to the candy stripe thing, but you can get polka dots, and a lot of times there's florals, and so it really is a wonderful variety possibility in there for pajama pants. So that's kind of a couple of pros about that. If you have pants that have pockets, and I've kind of alluded to this just moments ago, another pro is if you do get pants with a pocket, you may be surprised at how much fabric is in a pocket. I don't know that I'd go so far as to say yardage, but pants pockets are bigger than shirt pockets, and so a lot of times you can get a fair amount of pieces out of the interior pocket of a pair of pants. And of course, I mentioned with the bag, if you are breaking down your pants and you have an idea for how to integrate a pocket into a crafting project, or even, I mean, I've heard people talk about leaving pockets in for quilts for babies and toddlers, so it's something to fiddle with and play with, and it gives it some interest. That to me is a potential for just a fun addition either to your quilts or to your crafting projects. And then the other thing, and I'll go back to my linen pants, it's actually pretty easy to find matching fabric, particularly with linen pants. So I have probably 5 pairs of linen pants, and they are remarkably close in color. Actually, let me show you that. So I'm not going to drag out all 6 pairs, but here are 3 different pairs of linen pants. Now they're not identical, but they're remarkably close. And so again, if you look at what I'm putting together behind me on the design wall, there are 2 different linens represented in those blocks, and it can provide a little bit of just the slightest bit of variation in your quilts. And because this color linen in particular is that's just like the color of linen pants. Often you can get a lot of fabric and you can get a lot of matching fabric. One of the challenging things about using shirts is you may find a wonderful shirt and want 2 more of them so that you can do a whole quilt in that fabric, and that's not possible. With pants, tan pants are, I mean, ubiquitous in men's clothing, and linen pants typically are just this color linen. So you can get 2 or 3, or in my case 6 pairs of linen pants, and they're close enough that it will be a harmonious fabric, and you can use them a variety of ways. So that's another great benefit, and that's true for jeans as well. So I want to say again, I've not made a blue jean quilt, but I know that there are plenty of people who do, and if you want that really heavy winter quilt and you use a bunch of different jeans, if you've been to the thrift store, you know you can find blue jeans at the thrift store, usually racks, and at least in America, racks and racks of them. So even if you don't have exactly the same color, they're very often in a very similar hue and can be used. So like if you want to do a whole entire quilt with just blue jeans, pretty easy to accomplish. So if we talk about the pros, we have to talk about the cons of using pants in your quilting. And there are some kind of pitfalls of using pants, just like there are of using shirts. The first I would say is very often pants are thicker fabric than the quilting cottons that you might use, or even shirt fabrics, which it makes sense. I mean, if you made men's pants out of shirt fabrics, we'd be seeing a lot of backsides and knees in short order because they're thin and they would get used. So they are thicker, which means you either have to use other thick fabrics with them, or know that as you're mixing like a thick pair of pants and a thinner quilting cotton, what that's going to do after it's been washed is kind of anybody's guess. It just makes sense. If one's thin and one's thick, it's just going to do different things in the final quilt. Linen is a little bit better in terms of thickness, but even this pair of linen pants, the one that they really did not want this man's pants to fall off, is a thicker linen. And so even between fabrics, even linen to linen, they may be a similar color, but sometimes the thicknesses vary. So that's something to watch for. That's true with jeans as well. So even if you're making an all jean quilt, there's the really heavy duty, like, my goodness, this person is going to be working on the railroad in these blue jeans, or these are, you're going out nice blue jeans and they're pretty thin. So that's just something to consider. Actually, all of the cons, I don't even know that they're cons as much as it is, you just have to think about it. The next thing, and I just kind of referenced it, is there are places that will go threadbare in pants that you just have to consider. So the bottom, the backside of really any pants has a risk of being a little more threadbare. Also the knees. And so you may lay out your pants and go, oh, look at this, you know, all this fabric that I have. But this section right here, right in the low part of the bottom where it meets the crotch, might be almost completely threadbare. Same for the knees, and same for the cuffs, although I generally just cut the cuffs off. So that's a possibility. This one happens to have a bleach stain right up here at the top. So, you know, stains are an issue, threadbare is an issue, potentially. And in the case of pajama pants, if they have been worn well or a lot, not only do you have threadbare because they're thinner to start with, but there's the whole smell / stain situation. You know, if everybody's going, ooh, I get it. You might want to cut out that section that's the center seam and crotch, because it's just, if they've been really worn a lot, that's an area that can hold smells. Yuck, sorry, but I just feel like I need to mention it. The last consideration / challenge / negative is the narrow width of a pair of pants. It comes back to, that's a lot of fabric right there. But at the ankle, it's not very wide. And you may have a very, very big pair of pants, like that one that I started out with, that's really, really wide, like wider than or as wide as a fat quarter, but it tapers down to the ankle. So you think you have this, you know, like, whoa, I have a yard of fabric that's 18 inches wide. Actually, you have 14 inches that's 18 inches wide, and then and then it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. So can't get a lot of big pieces out of it, but you can do a lot of strips. So if you like a jelly roll, if you're using a lot of 2.5 inch strips, this is a great, you know, great fabric choice. But if you're looking for big blocks or a lot of width in a fabric, pants are not going to do it for you unless you just find the widest leg known to man. You're just not going to have big wide pieces the whole entire length of the pant. So that was something that I was not really expecting. I was like, look at all this fabric when I started my orange peel blocks. Thankfully, those pieces are kind of skinny and I can turn them all which way to get them out of my pants. But I had a lot of waste because of that. So that's a consideration, not something to keep you from using it, just something you need to know going into it. So can you use pants? Yes, you can. But you need to have some consideration as you're both buying your pants and breaking your pants down and considering thicknesses and all those good things. So I hope it's been helpful to give you some ideas about how to use your pants in quilting. And yet one more thing you can buy at the thrift store. I'm Kathy Martin. This is the Catbird Quilts. Thank you so much for watching.